Hey, hello. I'm so excited to get to have this conversation today. This is the Nova member interview series where we really get to dive into these inspiring journeys that the incredible women in our community are on and up to in the world. And these conversations are a space to really celebrate the transformation that our members have been on, the ambition that you have, and really your soul-led leadership. And I believe, and I've seen thousands of times of the power of when we share our stories. We really create deeper connections and empower each other to rise and to know that we are never alone in anything that we're going through. So today I'm so excited to introduce Alison Gardner. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Melissa.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we're happy to have you because we're this is you're newer to our community as far as the role that you're playing. Alison is launching our Portland chapter in 15 days, which is so fun. And today we want to take the time to just get to know who you are, what you're up to in the world, who you be as a person, and what our vision is and what we're growing in Portland. So, having said that, I'd love for you to just share a little bit about like your story and this is a loaded question, but just how you came to be doing the work that you're doing in the world today.
Thank you. Yeah, excited to share and just so excited to be a part of this community. I'm sure we'll get to it, but I've really been needing something like this in my life and felt very called to step into the leadership role to really facilitate and hold this space for other women like myself. And yeah, just
Mm,
honored to be a part of it. So thanks for having me. Um,
yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like an aligned progression of where I'm at with involving myself in community and supporting, especially women around me, to follow their dreams and do what they love for their careers. So, yeah, just so happy I met you and to be a part of this.
Can I actually ask you a different question since you just said that?
Oh,
And
sure.
I want to hear your journey too, but I'm curious if you could elaborate on when you said I've really been needing something like this in my life. Can you share, what it is that you've been seeking and why?
Yeah, I think just like the people that you're bringing together are all very aligned, very soul led, purpose driven women that aren't following the traditional path and want to create something for themselves. And while I found friends here and there on my journey that like fit that type of role, it
Hmm.
seems like you've had this very powerful community that you've created that just brings all of those people together. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny because one of our core values is sacred rebellion. And it's the one that I find that I still have a little bit of like, is this okay to say this out loud? Like, is it okay to stand for this, right? Like outwardly. And it's ironically the one that people are like, ooh, sacred rebellion, but it's that like really intentional honoring of ourselves and how just like innately that's rebellious in a world that wants you to do everything but that, it wants you to conform and it wants you to follow the rules and it wants you to stay the course and it wants you to work until you're burned out and your soul is dead inside of you. And it's like, well, we're not
No, thank
doing that
you.
anymore.
Yeah.
No, I'm not interested in that. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just wonderful. The people that you've pulled together all have similar like values and just visions for their lives. And so being dropped into a community like that is just so empowering. And then not only that,
Mm,
but I really love the value and the structure that you bring to the Nova. It's not just like a typical networking event. There's a lot of intention and thought behind it. And I really love
mm,
that I can show up and others can show up for themselves, for their careers, for their health, for their family. It's like very full spectrum and
mhm.
haven't quite found that out in the world yet.
Mm.
So yeah, the Nova is definitely special.
We just had I just finished an event here in Boulder and we were talking about the topic of belonging. And one of the women said, we're saying like what's your big takeaway from the day? And we had a dialogue around like what belonging means to us. And I have to like actually look it up because I don't want to, it's like the simplest quote, but she said it and I was like, Yes, this is so smart because we're talking about being able to be seen is so important for all the things that you're speaking to, right? It's like we actually need to be able to be seen. And when we are seen as women, as humans, really, this is not just like a unique to women, but any human that is seen, like what becomes possible in our lives. And she said, if you want to be seen, you cannot hide. And I was like, it's so simple. And yet we hide. That's what we do because we
Hmm.
had to be safe and to be loved and to belong. And like, so I kind of feel like that rebellion, that like not following a traditional path is like permission to come out of hiding. And we're all like, I'm
Mhm.
here. Where are you? How do we find you? So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so empowering to find the community who can then lift you up and support you and yeah, bring that confidence that comes with like stepping into your story and sharing that. I know the first meetup that I had come to, the theme was around sharing your story. And while
Hmm.
simple, the more we dove into it, it was just so impactful that it's not necessarily about you and your story. It's about how you can impact others with the power of your story. And I thought that was just, yeah, really resonating and really powerful.
Mm. Well, I'm going to totally deviate from my first question. We'll answer that at some point. But I want to just keep going with this energy of because we're talking about like what are the things that you crave as a woman, as a mom, as a business owner, and your excitement for getting to bring this to Portland. And I can you share a little bit about like what your vision is to cultivate there in the Portland area? Because we're having a launch on the 30th, and we have I think already 20 women coming. And usually we get a majority of the signups like within days of an event. So it's interesting to see so much momentum already before, even still 2 weeks out. So I'd love to hear your vision and what you love to cultivate there.
Yeah, thank you. So, with the Nova as the platform and the structure to it all, I'm really excited to hold space for vulnerable and authentic connection that will help empower women to really step into their purpose, whatever that looks like. And I know a lot of them are career focused, a lot are leaders and creatives and entrepreneurs. And so bringing everyone together to really feed off each other's energy. And I'm kind of imagining an organic kind of growth to our group where we can connect and get to know each other and then define what it looks like for us to move forward, whether that is more focused on networking and professional life, or whether we need to sprinkle in more health and wellness like nervous system work or a walk in the woods or um, supporting local businesses. I'm really curious about getting more community involved as well. We have something at the Nova called the experiential events. Is that what they're
No,
called?
the intent like our intentional adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah, which are
Thank
that? Yeah, they're
you.
experiential events. Hmm.
Yeah, the intentional adventures. And there's so many people in Portland that are just doing really inspiring things. Small businesses and restaurants and coffee shops and wellness studios. And so would love to integrate some intentional adventures there to really infuse our community. And then, yeah, get into nature as well. That's really where I find my grounding. And so I know a lot of people in Portland are here because they are tapped into nature as well. And so combining connection and enhancement and nature and community is kind of my overarching vision, but we'll let the community kind of lead the way and tell us what they want.
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole person, right? It's a professional women's community, but it's acknowledging that these are the components that nurture our whole self, right? Like you can't crush it in business unless you're caring for yourself, right? You can't like lead in a way that feels good to you and in alignment and feel clear on what you desire if you're not tapped into like your whatever you refer to as your spiritual guidance or the cycles of nature or like play and joy and pleasure. And so there's just some fundamental things that are so critical to us, like our aliveness, really. And the more
Right.
alive that we can be, which we get sourced through all of these different avenues. And what I've seen in growing Denver and these other communities, and we're only 18 months old, so we're still a really new business as far as like the life cycle of businesses go. But what we have seen is this like huge momentum because we're really craving these kinds of places to gather. And we kind of start off with more of the business networking, but then what's happening is you start to get like members that like as that critical mass grows, and you're like, great, what's your business? How do we support your business? And what are the partners in the community that we want to support? So what you're talking about, like I almost feel like intentional adventures is, as you were talking, and like it's got to get a rebrand of some sort of like the community connection adventures. In my mind, I'm like, well, that's getting a rebrand. I already can feel that. But that's it. We were talking in our meeting today. It was just like everyone builds in silos, and instead of building in a silo, like how can we actually like reach out and link arms with our what our members are doing, what the community is doing, and bring awareness so we can all like rise together versus like rising alone in our own little silo. So I love that you brought that up of just like this comprehensive way of connecting and growing together that doesn't leave any part of us out.
Absolutely. Well said. And to piggyback on that too, as far as community goes and like being in your own silo, in this society that we live in now, it is so like individualistic and we all
Yeah.
have our own little houses and we're just detached from the world, especially a lot of people after 2020. And so I think now more than ever is this opportunity to really bring people together and just experience what it's like to be human and what it's like to juggle so much and support each other, like you mentioned, in all facets. It's just
Yeah.
something that I truly believe that we need right now.
Yeah. And people are coming out of the woodwork. It's interesting. I think even maybe at an event you came to in Denver, there was one where the theme was definitely like introverts leaving their couches. Like it was like normally, like, I would stay at home, but I'm just craving this. And sometimes there's not even like it's almost like it's a knowing and a feeling, and there's not necessarily a name for it for people. They're just like, I just need to be in community with people that are being in community in this kind of way.
Right.
And normally when people go, and I always hesitated to like brand us as a networking company, but like it's kind of what we are, but it's flipping it on its head instead of being transactional and being like, what's your perfectly polished 30-second pitch? And like, how many leads have you generated for Alison this week? And if you haven't, then you're out of here. And we only can have one person per industry. We're like, hey, make room at the table. There's room for everybody. And how deep can we go with each other? And it's more of a relational way of doing business in life. And that's what people want. And that's why they're putting pants on and leaving their houses, even though they're like, a lot of people would generally shy away or like networking and
Hmm.
are really nervous. But they're like, I know I want this, but I'm really being more intentional about how I find it.
Right. It's like the new feminine way of working and living and building and
Yeah.
creating. Yeah, it's needed.
Yeah. And it's also like an old new thing. Like, and this is how women always were. It's just we're remembering and we're like coming home to this way of being together that we've been told is not valuable for so long and not safe. And so it's beautiful to breathe new life into something like a very old way of being together.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have some unlearning to do together.
God, so much unlearning. Well, so how do you support in your day-to-day life? I know, maybe just tell us a little bit about like who you be, the other hats that you wear in your life. I know you're a mama and you're a business owner, like we mentioned, and I know that's not all that you are, but share a little bit about like who you are outside of this particular conversation.
Yeah, so many hats I'm wearing these days, but all just joy-filled, even though challenging. I really try and practice living in alignment with my purpose and following joy. And if things aren't aligned with the two of those, I have clear boundaries that allow me to really
Mm,
like focus on what's aligned with my future purpose, what's aligned with my values. Um, so while I have a lot going on, they're all filling my cup or someone else's cup in another way. Um, but yeah, beyond, I created Perspective Design Co. I've been a leader and started out as a designer and then grew my team. We're 11 years strong now. So I lead my team as well as visionaries, entrepreneurs, creatives, really full spectrum of clientele to launch and create new brands that are purpose driven,
Mhm.
that really support them in achieving their future goals. So that's my primary work at Perspective, leading my team, supporting clients with building new businesses or refreshing old ones to make sure that their visuals and their messaging are in alignment with what they want to portray, which ultimately will
Mhm.
help them create success, and help them lead them down the path of fulfilling their purpose as well. So that's like the big work at Perspective. Um, and then, yeah, beyond that, my husband and I launched Saturday Cabin. We renovated this 1960s cabin near Mount Hood, created a beautiful boutique experience for people to disconnect and reconnect with nature, find grounding in the forest. We're right on the Sandy River and just like
Ugh,
it's such a joy. So we've been
yeah.
hosting retreats and events here over the past couple of years, which have been really wonderful, just sharing this space with community and yeah, just continuing with my value of nature and being around nature and knowing how important that is to connect with that to then show up at fully as a mother, as a business owner. So yeah, really happy to have had this experience to share with others. And then beyond that, a mother to a very spirited 3.5 year old.
I
Um,
love that you said very spirited.
we're we're rephrasing how we how
Uh-huh.
what we're titling our or what we're like, yeah, how we're describing our children. I know
Uh-huh.
in like past parenting lives that may have been like crazy or wild, but we're really trying to like rephrase that and look at the beautiful side of that energy
Hmm.
and independence. So yes, have his name is Atlas and yeah, just like trying to instill our values in him. We don't have childcare at the moment, so it's my husband and I who get to take care of him and really create that foundation for him. And then beyond that, I'm supporting clients with consulting. So after 11
Hmm.
years of launching multiple businesses, I even launched one. I don't share this publicly a lot, but my husband and I created a copywriting business for the real estate
Mm,
world a few years ago, right before
okay.
ChatGPT was a thing.
Oh,
And it scaled, and we were able to have him on like half time with it. We had four freelancers working
oh,
for us. It was a beautiful business. And then ChatGPT launched. We had a partnership with Sotheby's. It was fantastic.
oh.
ChatGPT launched, and within like a few months of that office getting access, it died.
No,
So
no.
in
Oh,
multiple ways, I've created businesses. Um, Thankfully, one of them has scaled over 11 years and provides income for my family and my team's family. It's really sustainable. Saturday Cabin being another, and then yeah, another that's, just gone its organic way with how the world is going. So with all of that, I've gained so much experience. And
yeah.
so I'm really this year looking to support my community more with consulting. So supporting small businesses, just like I have within the design studio portion, supporting them more full spectrum. So with
Mm.
the vision planning, marketing, automation, team building, values. Like there's so much that has gone into
Oh,
it. So,
so much work. It's so much work. Oh my
so much
gosh.
work. So it
Oh,
feels good to
what
be
a
able to
gift.
start giving back and like I've learned a lot. So that's where I am now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's such a beautiful gift for just having been in that zone the last, 18 months of like, there's like the dream and then there's the execution of the dream. And even if you're someone who is good at executing or even exceptional at executing, you've lived it multiple times, but that like full business development support, all the foundational pieces, everything that goes into creating something that actually hopefully can live on, right? That has sustainability, that, it's a big I think previous me would have been like, oh, 11 years. Like I wouldn't really have gotten that at like a cellular level. I'm like, wow, 11 years. Like that's a big fucking deal, you know? And I just think
Lifetime.
when you know what goes into creating something and then the sustaining of it and just the evolving, especially with technology changes and things like that. You know, AI has done so much good and also things like that that are like the unfortunate, I know it's like the unfortunate like part of technological advancements is like, and just terrible timing. I'm so sorry. That's just like you just get it off the
Is
ground and
what
you're
it
like,
is.
I
We
know.
definitely learned a lot. Yeah, the AI thing is something I could have an entire conversation about. But going back to like the concept of the Nova and my goals with consulting, and just with the design business is really like something one of the biggest things that I've learned on my journey is that I can't do it all alone. It took me a long time to realize that, and then I burnt myself out. And it wasn't until I hired my first business coach and she supported me with doing my own personal healing work in being able to ask for support and delegating the things that I wasn't the best at and surrounding
Yeah.
myself with people that could support me where they were more of an expertise than me and I wanted to learn everything. I'm an eager learner. I love to learn new things. Um, but it's not sustainable. And so really being mindful about choosing the people that you're surrounding yourself with and who
Mhm.
you're learning from will just create so much value for you and make things easier when they could have been a real challenge if you're just in your own head trying to do it all on your own. So I think with me joining the Nova, that's like a big part of it is being able to surround myself and allow others to surround themselves with people that have maybe done what they want to do. And they don't necessarily need to invent the wheel, but are looking for connection, inspiration, emotional support, friendship.
Yeah.
It all is just imperative when people are building purpose-based businesses or
Yeah.
purpose-based lives. So going back to like community is essential. We've kind of lost our villages, and now this is an opportunity to like bring it back.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect ending point for our conversation. It just, I love hearing your heart and I'm so grateful that I think you found us on Eventbrite, didn't you, in Denver?
I found you through Nurture.
Oh, through Nurture. Okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
I'd gotten like a five pack co-working there and was looking at events because usually they host very um, aligned events there. And you guys were there when I was there one day and was happy to pop in. And yeah, just organic rambling here. Just an
Okay,
organic
yeah,
path to
yeah. Well, it's so. I mean, it's perfect that you were just like living in Golden for a moment in time, and you walked into that room, and then we cultivated a friendship, and now Portland is happening, and it's just. But this is, I mean, this is it, right? This is the power of like, you know, in our launch event, Lisa Kalfas, who's one of our facilitators and advisors, she's like, one conversation can change the trajectory of your life. And it's not corny, it's actually incredibly true. And that's the power of walking into rooms and putting yourself purposefully in rooms that are expansive and taking the time to, I always say, like, pick one person to get to know. Like, it's overwhelming to go into these spaces. Find one new friend. That's all you got to do. And like, make the time to get to know them. Like, actually give a shit. And you'd be amazed how your life can expand just because you take this time to form those relationships. I'm just like, thanks universe for putting Alison in that room and in our life and in Golden for that time and for taking this time today. And I'm so excited to see you in a couple of weeks and just thank you for who you are and what you're doing in the world. I'm just really excited to see what continues to unfold. So just thank you from my whole heart.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. Such an honor. Excited to see what we co-create together.